Okay, so today on Inside Craft Show, it's technically a day off, as you've seen here. I worked way too late last night, and now we're at a farmer's market. That's right. She knows all the answers. Finn, do you have any answers?
Chips.
Chips are the answer?
Yeah.
What are you playing?
Madden. God, Madden 16, 15. I don't. Whatever the newest Madden is.
Do you not know what year it is?
I don't know what year it is.
But now that we're back from that brief little stint, I just wanted to go over a couple things. I was looking at some DJI Phantom 4 Pro footage and kind of thinking about the workflow that we go through. We've kind of knocked it down to the simplest terms we possibly can, just because sometimes it's a turnaround issue. Sometimes it's just the quality of the footage. But for us, it's more a matter of getting the content in and getting to the space to cut, right? I love all the technical behind it, but sometimes I just need to sit down and edit, which I'm sure you've gone through in your relationship with clients or anybody else. So I just kind of want to go through our workflow process and showcase how we do this particular way. Now, there's a lot of cool things inside of Premiere Pro that we've all seen before. You know, you've got all these various ingest settings. You can change all the stuff around. But we've basically just gone with a straightforward transcode offline-online process. It's worked for a long time. It worked years ago when we worked in the film side of things. And we just don't like to deviate from it, mainly because our workflow has been built around it for so long. But I thought I'd share. Maybe it sparks some better innovation. Any tips, comments, tricks, whatever, put them in the comments. But for us, this is what's worked the best. We're in Premiere Pro CC. And inside of here, we have a media folder. I just pulled it over from it. So what you have is our raw clips. And the issue that I've had in the past is if I play, you can see how long it took to load. If I try and play one of these clips, you can see that it takes a little while. It'll start kind of going and it'll stutter and then it'll hang up, right? And we are running on a pretty beefy system. So part of the issue, I think, is just the way that it's processing those MP4 files or MOV files, whatever it might be. I think it's the way it processes it. So what we decided to do is just go ahead and transcode from the beginning. So in order to do that, there's a couple of ways. One quick and easy way is bring all of that footage, your original, we call them the negative, by the way. If you ever hear me refer to something about cutting the neg or the negative, that's an old film term. Used to be, you know, you would shoot film and you'd only have one version of it. And so you would cut the neg. So it's just old language that sticks around to it. But you're going to take your original raw footage, you're going to bring it in and you'll highlight them all, which, you know, easy peasy to do, right? You right click on them. And if you scroll down, you'll see where it says proxy, right? And under that, you can create proxy. So if you hit that button, it's going to bring up this dialog box here. And for us, 1536 by 790, which is no real frame resolution other than to help us just get cutting. This is about editing, right? This isn't about the technical horsepower. It's just let's get cutting because there's a real simple way of doing this. So we're just going to let it go. You hit the OK button. We want to put them in the exact same folder as you can see here next to original media and proxy folder. We let that go. You hit OK and Media Encoder will automatically launch. And once it does, it'll create these series of proxy jobs and actually just launch them over for you. Now, for the most part, we've done that bit, right? So here's what I'd propose is that inside of this, you'd actually just go straight to the proxies. Take these guys here, your masters, and what I'll typically do is inside this, I'll create a bin and I'll just call it masters, right? And I'll drag all this footage over into it. So now it's very cleanly masters and proxies, right? So now we have our proxy pieces. Now this is kind of the nitty gritty crucial. You'll see a couple of double ups in here. Let me clean those up right quick. That's from me doing this a couple times to get it right in the VO side. So inside of this, you'll see we have all of our proxies in play, and you double click on that exact same clip. Guess what? Plays like a champ. Doesn't even really care, right? Pardon my piloting skills, and we also didn't have any ND on this camera. This is when we first got the drone, but we wanted to give you some kind of good footage or, you know, something we could work off of. So there we go. It plays like a champ, not an issue. So what I would suggest is, and this is the crucial part of this entire process, very simple. You're going to go ahead and edit in the final form, right? So what I mean by that is you're going to create a new sequence which will be, for us, we have default presets. I don't know if you guys use customs. I highly suggest it. So we have a Craft Show 4K UHD. Why? Because if I don't delineate between true 4K and UHD, which isn't true 4K, I need to make sure that everyone understands the same terms, and my other editors and Jeff and anybody else that touches it gets the same idea. So we're at Craft Show 4K UHD, right? We're going to hit OK. Oh, we'll title it, sorry. So we'll go through and title it real quick. We'll just call this Craft Show Demo, right? And now we bring up this timeline. If we drag one of these clips, and I leave it in the proxy bin for the moment, if we bring one of these clips in, let's say we want to start with this shot here, right? Oh, look how cool this is. No, that's garbage. Maybe we'll go with this gimmick. There we go. We're just going to fly through the woods a little bit, following this beautiful golf trail as the light goes through, whatever. So we're going to bring this down, right? So we bring it down to the timeline. This dialogue coming up, you want to keep existing settings. Don't change it. It's very important you keep it the same. And you can see how small it is. If it bothers you that the res is this low, just right click on it, hit scale to frame size, pow. It's going to bring it right up, right? And use scale, not set. And I'll show you a reason why in a second. So we're just going to come in and cut something together real quick. So I found a piece of music I want to use. I'll link it in the notes. You should actually check out his site. He has tons of free music you can use to make epic videos and other awesome content. And his music is fantastic. He's a brilliant composer. I'm a little shocked that he hasn't been gobbled up by one of the bigger companies yet. If we look at the timeline here, you can kind of see, like, here's all the shots. Everything's playing in real time. We'll just preview it real quick. So there's a little play, right? Now, I didn't scale them all up because I wanted to give you guys an example as to why. So there's two ways you can scale stuff up. Even though these are proxies, we know they're low res. They're not even close to 4K where we want them. So the couple of ways we can do this is one, well, sometimes on the timeline, I'll just take the clip and I'll hit set to frame size. Well, what that actually does, and just in case you don't know, is inside of your effect controls, you can see here that it's blown it up to 250%. And that's going to be a problem in a little bit. For now, just trust me and say you don't want that. So we're going to set this back to 100, and we're just going to use scale, right? These are not our masters. This is not what we're finishing from, but we're just going to use scale, right? So now it's scaled up and everything's playing. We felt the emotion. We cut on the syncopated beats. We felt everything really strong, right? It was a nice rhythmic beat. The other thing I was going to mention is this shot, for example, has been sped up. This shot is a reverse. This is another speed up at a greater speed. This is I shot it at 48 frames a second and interpreted the footage, which I will show you where is he? Right here. See this guy here? I interpreted the footage. To do that, you right click, modify, interpret, change it to 23976. And what that allows it, or what that does is that gives you the frame rate or that slow-mo vibe you wanted without having to slow it down with percentages, right? This is the natural way of doing slow motion because you're shooting it at 48, but you're playing back at 24. Premiere is a really smart program, and unless you tell it to do that, it's not going to do it. So there we have our little piece with Fiend. Now we've got it all together. So here's the trick that requires a little bit of attention. I'm going to drag this fella out just for a second. Now, I know we have the masters up there, but forget about those for the moment. This is the offline-online disconnect. Let's say we're done with this and we're ready to send it to a colorist. That's what we're actually after here, right? We're done. It is the beard's job to come in and just bang out some gorgeous color, but he's not going to be working off these low-res proxies. So I'm going to show you how I like to do it, which is we have our edits done on the timeline, right? And I don't care which ones we use and which ones we didn't. I'm done with the video. Like, this is it. Final edits have come through. It's now time to send it off to colorist. Everybody's happy. And we need to look at the final print anyway when we do an export. So I will just come back over to the bin, and in proxies, right, I will highlight them all. I will right click. You can press reconnect full resolution media, and it's going to find them. It's going to ask you where they are. So all you have to do is point back to the top folder of where they are, and bing bada bing. Now that you're done with it, you've set everything back up where it needs to be. You've got your master print ready to go. And again, because we use scale and not set, it didn't mess things up. If we would have used set, let's just say this clip, the same clip here, if you remember from the beginning, we had it set to 250. So basically it would bring it in, and on the timeline would look like this because you had left it set. So the difference being when you right click on this, either scale to frame size or set to frame size. So if you're using the proxies, make sure you use scale to frame size to make this trick work, right? I'm going to reset this one back to 100. So now all of a sudden we have our full resolution version ready. Oh, but what about these masters? Well, let me show you what happens. You need to come in and rename this. So we're just going to rename this folder to masters for CC, right? And this folder, bye-bye. Right? So the original masters was only there to help you if you needed it, but you don't. So now we have masters for CC, but this is based on the idea that you are done with your edit. You have finished your cut. So all you have to do now is send your XML out, which we'll cover in a different one. If you don't know how to do XMLs, don't worry, we're going to walk you through it. But you can just kick out your XML and suddenly your footage, you could edit, dance, do whatever you wanted to do, get into the emotion of the footage, live in that footage because you weren't restricted by resolution or playback. It's okay. It's about being creative and feeling the moment. So I highly suggest this kind of workflow. If you have a better one, please throw it in the comments. Tell us about it. We want to know too. But this for us, for me as an editor, I can get into the footage. All I want to do is play with that footage. I just want to feel that emotion. I find the right music. I want to drop it in and feel the emotion. This is the fastest and most logical way that we've come across to pull that together. So I hope you're happy with it, and we'll see you tomorrow.